All right. good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're joining us from. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing I would like to go ahead and do is share my screen with you and point out some things that might be helpful. First thing I would like to point out is that we actually have a Facebook group that matches our meetup group, and it has the same name, Live Law of Attraction, Money, Wealth, and Success Training. And we'd definitely love to invite you to come join us in the Facebook group. So how do you find us? Well, when you log into Facebook, look for where it says search Facebook, and you can type in the name of the Live Law of Attraction, Money, Wealth, and Success Training and find us that way. The other way you can find us is you can go directly to facebook.com/groups/ money manifesting coach as one word. So you can, once again, you can go to facebook.com/groups, plural, / money manifesting coach as one word. All right. So why would you want to join the Facebook group? Well, a few different reasons. One, if you come today, for instance, and you really like something you heard and you want to be able to go back and go through it again, you want it repeated for you, typically within 24 to 48 hours, what we attempt to do, and we usually do, as long as I remember to hit the record button, is we go ahead and get those videos, like right there. We get them posted into the group within about 24 to 48 hours so you can review them. Well, another reason you might want to join the group is because sometimes we go through material that takes more than one day. So sometimes we'll go through something and I'll train on something that it'll take one day to get through. And maybe we'll be going through something that takes several days to get through. It just depends on where we're headed at the time. But if it's something that takes several days, well, let's say you're able to make it with us and you're here with us Monday, Tuesday, some reason Wednesday you can't make it, but you can make it Thursday, Friday, or whatever days. Come whatever days you want to, whatever days you can make it. But let's say you miss a day and you want to know what we went through. Well, again, within about 24, 48 hours, you can go into the group and find the recording of that and get caught up with us. Okay, next thing I'd like to go ahead and share with everybody is what we are in the middle of going through right now. Matter of fact, I say in the middle, we're actually starting to come closer to the end. We are actually going through a book. We started this we've been going now for 2.5 weeks. We started with this book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Now, this book was originally published in 1910, so it's definitely an older book, but it's a very powerful book. I've been through it. I don't even know how many times. Definitely over 50. Okay. Over the years, I've been through this book a lot. So I own a copy of the book. I also have it on Kindle. I also have it on Audible. I even have seminars that I've trained on with it. And I have even seminars from my personal mentor and trainer. I was actually trained as a law of attraction coach by a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor. Now, if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, maybe you've heard of his book, You Were Born Rich, or maybe you've heard of the movie or the book, The Secret. If you've heard of the movie or the book, The Secret, if you've watched the movie, The Secret, he's highlighted very heavily in that work. He's the older gentleman with the white hair, okay? But Bob Proctor is the one who trained me to be a law of attraction coach, and now I'm independent and still connected with many people in his organization, still friends with everybody. Just sometimes we spread our wings and go our own way, have different personalities. Bob is one of my favorite people, though, in the world to learn from when it comes to law of attraction related stuff and how the mind works. So that's where I received my training. I was actually given this book and went through a seminar called The Science of Getting Rich back in February of 2006. And by the time March 31st of 2006 had rolled around, after reading the book, going through the 3-day seminar and getting additional training and coaching, it didn't take me long, a month and a half, and I quit my job, took a vacation for the month of April. And then from May through the end of the year, so May 1st through December 31st, My income the previous 3-4 years had stayed around 5-6 grand a month, and my work week was 50-60 hours a week. Well, my work week went all the way down to 15 to 20 hours a week, and my income jumped up into a very nice 6-figure income. So I definitely had, this book was impactful for me. Again, I had more than just the book. I went through a seminar workshop. I got some additional coaching and training, but this was the impetus. This was my launch point for that change for me. So oftentimes when I do something like we're doing right now, I use this as a starting point for us too. So I want to show you how to get your own free copy, which is the one I'm going to use also, so that we can be on the same page. I just typed into Google Science of Getting Rich PDF. Organically, what came up in the search at the very top, it may come up in the top for you, it may not, but look for this one, okay? It says The Science of Getting Rich, and then kind of a little dash next to it, then The Secret. And if you look above it, it says thesecret.tv. Well, I knew that Rhonda Byrne, the creator of The Secret, owned that website, okay? So I knew this would probably be a good source to go get it, so it is what I did. Rhonda Byrne, her impetus for sharing the law of attraction with the world and making the movie in the book, The Secret, was she was doing poorly in her business and in her relationships. Interestingly enough, her daughter, I don't know how her daughter got a hold of it, but her daughter somehow had gotten a hold of a copy of The Science of Getting Rich and gave it to her mom. That was when Rhonda Byrne was introduced to the law of attraction and started studying and figuring out how things work, and got so excited about it, she decided to use, quote unquote, The Secret to make The Secret. So that's where that came from. If you click right here, though, on The Science of Getting Rich, you can get a copy just like I did. What's really kind of cool is I didn't have to type anything in or whatnot. Hopefully it'll pop up in a second here. It should. There we go. It came up, didn't give any information or anything. And then I just used the download function to go ahead and get a copy for myself. But what I just showed you is exactly how to go get your own free copy. And I highly recommend that you do that, okay? We are on page 64, if I remember correctly. Yes. And I'm going to blow this up bigger so you can see it. Give my screen a moment to catch up here. There we go. Oops. Don't really need all of that. That's not important to you guys. But let's get this to slide over, please. Thank you. There we go. All right. So here's how things are going to go today, how this group functions, so you know and are aware. If you start typing things into chat while I'm going through this, I'm not going to be paying any attention to chat, so you'll kind of be wasting your time doing that. However, we like to leave 10, 15 minutes towards the end of what we're doing to have interaction with everybody. It's an opportunity for you to share what you want to share and ask whatever questions that you want to ask, okay? So you will definitely absolutely get the opportunity to do that. And to, you know, if something comes across and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to ask a question, or I'm not sure I understood that or whatever, you will get your opportunity to ask those questions and gain clarity, okay? But for this first little bit, what we're going to do is I'm going to start reading where we left off yesterday, and I will add some commentary where I feel it might be useful and helpful to you, especially in understanding the material that we're going through. So if you have questions, write them down, hold them until we come out of the screen share, and then we will come off mute and we will interact with each other, okay? But for the moment, I'm just going to take a sip of water and get going. Okay. The Impression of Increase. And once again, remember, the book was published originally in 1910. So obviously people spoke a little differently back then than they do now. So if they're using the male as first person and you're female, please don't be offended. That's predominantly how Wallace Wattles talks. It's the language of the era, okay? The Impression of Increase. Whether you change your vocation or not, your actions for the present must be those pertaining to the business in which you are now engaged. You can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business you're already established in. by doing your daily work in a certain way. Okay. Some of you are here for the first time today, so there are some things that Wallace says over and over and over and over again, and he's already trained on throughout this book. Let me tell you what he means by doing, well, let's talk about certain way. What does certain way mean? It means obeying the laws of the universe that govern attracting things into your life. And when I say laws, I mean that it's plural. It's not just law of attraction. Matter of fact, law of attraction is a secondary or subsidiary law to the law of vibration. So first thing you need to do, of course, to obey a law is you got to understand that it even exists. Why do I bring that up? Well, you could be hurting yourself by being disobedient to laws that you don't even know exist. For instance, let's take a little child. This maybe has happened to you, okay? Let's take a little child, like one that can only crawl and can't talk, and this child goes crawling across the floor and crawls up on a chair, and you have one of those kitchens with like an island counter, and somehow the child makes it up onto the counter, okay? If the child keeps crawling across the counter, eventually the child's going to come to the edge. If the child doesn't stop at the edge and just keeps crawling, the child is going to go over the edge. The law of gravity is going to take place and the child will fall. Now, depending on how the child lands and what the child lands on, what the material is, how soft or hard it might be, how jagged it might be or smooth it might be, whatever, this child is probably going to experience hurt and pain, hopefully hurt, pain, not hopefully, but could be injured, even worse could happen, right? Well, the child didn't know about the law of gravity. The child just was being a child, okay? But not knowing the law of gravity, did that protect the child from what was going to happen to them? Absolutely not, okay? So when you've been wanting things in your life, sometimes you've had the intention to set a goal and meet that goal, but it's not met, or to attract something into your life and you haven't been able to do so yet. Well, there's a strong possibility that there are some laws that you're unaware of that you are not following or using to your advantage to manifest what you want. Okay. The other thing about a certain way, you have a subconscious mind. We all do. And at a subconscious mind level, we have programs that are running that dictate most of the things we do throughout the day. They're called habits. Okay. And they're called beliefs. We have belief systems and habits, and we act according to those beliefs and we act according to those habits. Not every belief we have or every habit that we have serves us in a way that we appreciate. Okay. What do I mean by that? If you're wanting more money in your life and you've been striving for that change and it really hasn't happened, or it happened, but it was short term and then it reverted back, it's because you have programming in your subconscious mind that is in opposition to what it is that you really want. So you've got to be able to reprogram your subconscious mind to align with what you want. And then your subconscious mind will help you get what you want versus sabotage what you want. Those are the only two things your subconscious mind is going to do. It's not going to stay neutral. Your subconscious mind is going to help you or it's going to work against you. By the way, nobody has ever won out against their subconscious mind in a fight. Okay. So you don't want to fight your subconscious mind. You want to reprogram your subconscious mind because it's always going to win if you're trying to take it and force it and fight with it. Okay. So that's what a certain way is referring to. You can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business you're already established in. How? By doing daily work in a certain way, following the laws, getting the help of God in the universe, and getting your subconscious mind to be programmed in alignment with what you want. And insofar as your business consists in dealing with other men, whether personally or by letter, so in text, email, right, phone, the key thought of all your efforts must be to convey to their mind the impression of increase. Increase is what all men and all women are seeking. It is the urge of the formless intelligence within them seeking fuller expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People are seeking more food or better food, more clothes or better clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, increase in something. They want more life. People want to be, do, and or have something that's greater than what is currently. All right. And that's not a bad thing. Again, that's the impulse for progression. It's not somebody being greedy. Yes, there are people that have the greedy mindset, but for the most part, our desires, especially when they're coming from God in the universe, those desires are natural, and we should follow those promptings. That's why we can't just sit where we are and be satisfied 24/7, 365 all the time, because we know that there is more, and we know that we're capable of becoming more, doing more, and having more. So it's really hard for us to sit there and watch life go on around us and not feel that urge to improve. Okay. Every living thing is under the necessity for continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, dissolution, excuse me, and death set in at once. Doesn't mean you die right away. It just means you are going backwards. Man instinctively knows this, and hence is forever seeking more. That's what I was talking about. This law of perpetual increase is set forth by Jesus in the parable of the talents. Only those who gain more retain any. From him who hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. The normal desire for increased wealth is not an evil or reprehensible thing. It's simply desire for more abundant life. It is aspiration. And because it is the deepest instinct of their natures, all men and women who are attracted to him or her who can give them more of the means of life. In following the certain way, as described in the foregoing pages, you're getting continuous increase for yourself, and you're giving it to all with whom you deal. You are a creative center from which increase is given off to all. Be sure of this and convey assurance of the fact to every man, woman, and child with whom you come in contact, no matter how small the transaction. Even if it be only the selling of a stick of candy to a little child, put into it the thought of increase and make sure the customer is impressed with the thought. Convey the impression of advancement with everything you do, so that all people shall receive the impression that you're an advancing person and that you advance all who deal with you. So you're going to, through your thoughts and actions, put off a vibration that is going to attract people to want to be around you, because they feel that in being in your presence, in working together with you, in getting to know what you know, and learning how to do what you do, that their life is going to advance too. They're going to feel that intuitively, and they're going to be attracted to you if they're in the process of wanting to advance their life also. Even to the people whom you meet in a social way, without any thought of business, and to whom you do not try to sell anything, give the thought of increase. You can convey this impression by holding the unshakable faith that you, yourself, are in the way of increase, and by letting this faith inspire, fill, and permeate every action. Do everything you do in the firm conviction that you're an advancing personality and that you're giving advancement to everybody. Feel that you are getting rich, and in doing so are making others rich and conferring benefits on all. Do not boast or brag of your success or talk about it unnecessarily. Truth faith is never boastful. Whenever you find a boastful person, you find one who is secretly doubtful and afraid. Simply feel the faith and let it work out in every transaction. Let every act and tone and look express the quiet assurance that you're getting rich, that you are already rich. Words will not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others, because again, it's a vibration. They will feel the sense of increase when in your presence and will be attracted to you again. You must so impress others that they will feel that in associating with you, they will get increase for themselves. See that you give them a use value greater than the cash value you're taking from them. And that was discussed in the previous chapter. Take an honest pride in doing this and let everybody know it, and you will have no lack of customers. People will go where they are given increase, and the supreme, so God in the universe, which desires increase in all and which knows all, will move toward you, men and women who've never even heard of you. Your business will increase rapidly, and you'll be surprised at the unexpected benefits that will come to you. You'll be able from day to day to make larger combinations, secure greater advantages, and go on into more congenial vocation if you desire to do so. But doing all this, you must never lose sight of your vision of what you want or your faith and purpose to get what you want. Let me here give you another word of caution in regard to motives. Beware of the insidious temptation to seek for power over other men. Nothing is so pleasant to the unformed or partially developed mind as the exercise of power or dominion over others. The desire to rule for selfish gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords have drenched the earth with blood in their battles to extend their dominions. This, not to seek more life for all, but to get more power for themselves. Today, the main motive in business and industrial world is the same. Men marshal their armies of dollars and lay waste to lives and hearts of millions in the same mad scramble for power over others. Commercial kings, like political kings, are inspired by the lust for power. Jesus saw in this desire for mastery the moving impulse of the evil world he sought to overthrow. Read the 23rd chapter of Matthew and see how he pictures the lusts of the Pharisees to be called master, to sit in the high places, to domineer over others, and to lay burdens on the backs of the less fortunate. And note how he compares this lust for dominion with the brotherly seeking for the common good to which he calls his disciples. Look out for the temptation to seek for authority, to become a master, to be considered one who is above the common herd, to impress others by lavish display, and so on. The mind that seeks for mastery over others is in the competitive mind. And the competitive mind is not the creative one. And again, previous chapter, we go deep into this, okay? In order to master your environment and your destiny, it is not at all necessary that you should rule over your fellow men. And indeed, when you fall in the world's struggle for high places, you begin to be conquered by fate and environment, and your getting rich becomes a matter of chance and speculation. Beware of the competitive mind. No better statement of the principle of creative action can be formulated than the favorite declaration of the late Golden Rule Jones of Toledo. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. Okay, so we're going to pause this. Well, not pause, we'll go to it tomorrow. But we're going to essentially pause what we're going through and move on to the next thing that we're going to do. So here's your opportunity to share what you would like to share or ask whatever questions you would like to ask. So let me explain what would be appropriate. As far as sharing what it is that you'd like to share, please share anything that maybe you learned from what we just went through, okay? Share with us anything if you've been with us now for a week and a half or somewhere in between, a few days, a couple weeks, whatever it is. If you share whatever it is that you've learned, maybe that you went out and applied already. Some of you guys have come back and it's been really cool because you're like, hey, here's what we talked about and here's what you said the other day. I went out and did this and here's my result. And some of you have had cool results in literally a matter of days or even a day sometimes. So share whatever it is around the material we're going through. What else would be appropriate? Absolutely would love to hear anything about your successfully choosing a goal, okay, or an intention that you wanted to have manifest, and you feel that you followed the law of attraction and it led you to receive what you want. So your success stories, if you have any kind of success story, that would be awesome to share. Okay, questions. What questions are appropriate? Question number one that would be appropriate would be anything, again, related to what we just went over today. What else would be appropriate? Anything in relationship to what we've gone over in the last couple 2.5 weeks. The other thing that would be appropriate and totally useful probably to you guys is anything in relationship to attracting more money and wealth into your life, okay? So in a moment, I'm gonna ask you guys to start sharing or asking your questions. What you'll do is you'll come off mute and you'll just start, okay? And if two people start at the same time, we'll try and figure out who went first. and then we'll just have somebody, the next person follow them, and we'll go that way. Now, here's another thing I would say, please, you guys, sometimes this turns out from the very get-go, somebody jumps in and they start asking questions or sharing. I love that. Sometimes there's the awkward silence. It's not awkward for me so much, but what it is think about this for a moment. I'm a coach. I'm a law of attraction coach. I think I'm a pretty good one. Okay. You guys can determine that based on listening to me for yourselves. Okay. But I have clients that pay me when I coach them one-on-one. They pay $20,000 or more to work with me for 6 months. They pay $5,000 or more to work with me in a group coaching setting for 6 months. And then when we get them off and they take our jump start that I've produced to help people get off to a really great launch, they work with me for about 3 weeks for $1,000. The only reason I'm bringing that up is this is my profession and I'm pretty good at it. So if you have access to somebody and now is free time for you, I highly recommend that if you do have questions or things to share, don't keep them to yourself, ask it, because even if you're wondering, you're like trying to be polite and give other people a chance, I get that. But a lot of times somebody will ask a question that somebody else already had, and they'll be kind of relieved that you asked that question. Or you'll ask a question somebody didn't think about, and it'll get the gears turning, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just learned something really cool. So now is the opportunity for you to come off mute, share what you like to share, or ask whatever question you would like to ask. So feel free to do that now, and we'll roll with it.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Katrina.
I wanted to know, is it against the law of attraction to put a date and say like, oh, I would like my income to be stable by July 2021, or is that against the law of attraction?
No.
To put like a specific time, like a date?
No. There's a law called the law of gestation, which we'll go over at a different time, and different things for different people have different gestation periods. So if you set a goal, try and do it somewhat inspired. Don't just randomly set a goal like that. And by the way, the words, so repeat the words you were saying to me a moment ago. I get what you're talking about a date, but you were saying, I want blah, blah, blah. What were you saying?
I want a stable career, stable income by July 15th.
Okay. So go ahead and write out, as you're doing your 300 list, all the things that you want. You and I've talked about this. But when you're turning it into an actual goal or affirmation, don't use want, okay? Because it puts it into the future.
Right.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, putting a date is going to be fine. What you have to be okay with when you set that date is, as you get closer to the date, if it hasn't manifested in front of you yet, do you keep your faith and continue on and believe it's going to happen? Or does it discourage you by putting a date? Because in your life over the past, you've set dates a million times and never hit them. So dates can be good for some people and counterproductive for other people. There's going to be things in life that naturally will come up that have deadlines, right? Like this day is the day I pay this, or this is the day that we go here, or whatever. I get that. That's a set kind of date that you're working with God and the universe on. But when we're setting out to create the lifestyle that we want, you can put a date out there. Bob Proctor put out a date originally when he started learning about this. He was earning $4,000 a year. Now, this goes way back to 1961, but he was earning $4,000 a year. He had debts of $6,000, so he owed $6,000. And his mentor asked him what he wanted, and he didn't really truly believe it, but he wrote down that he was going to, he wanted $25,000 by the year 1970. Okay. So he really truly didn't believe it. He stuck it out nearly a decade because he'd never met anybody in his life that had accumulated $25,000. Thank goodness he didn't have to wait for that date. By the time 12 months had passed after he'd gotten training and instruction and help from his mentor and followed through with what he was asked to do, his income went from $4,000 a year to $15,000 a month within 12 months. So he met his goal much sooner than the date. Okay. So yes, dates are good to keep us focused, but if we get freaked out and weirded out by dates, then for now, especially if you're new to this, wanting to manifest what you want, focus on the lifestyle you want to live first.
Okay.
Does that help?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Who else?
I'll go.
Okay. Hey, Liz.
Hey, here's my face, by the way, so you know what I look
Hey.
like.
Awesome.
So to kind of bounce off of the time frame thing, I set a goal I was telling you this yesterday, of wanting to travel. I was turning 30 and hadn't traveled yet, and I was just like, I just want to travel. So I set a goal for myself of wanting to travel to 30 countries in honor of turning 30. I had no idea how that was going to happen. I had hardly any money in the bank, but I just let that be. And I wasn't really attached to like how long it was going to take me or when I had to have it completed by or any of those things. Sure enough, it was because it was so vague. I accomplished that goal just short of turning 40. So it was like the universe took that whole window of my 30s and said, okay, here you go. And my 30th country or 31st country was when I was like 39 or 37 when I moved to Mexico. So that was just kind of an experience for me. But what I've discovered with the law of attraction is I remember Jim Carrey wrote a date with a check to himself that he wanted to be a millionaire. And he had a very specific date, and it said for services rendered to the universe. But he just kind of set that aside and didn't really think about it. And he had it in his back pocket to think, to kind of remind himself of what he wanted, but he wasn't really hardcore that it had to be accomplished by that date. So I think it's about just sort of like setting it out there, doing what you're supposed to be doing, or putting that gestation period in the works, but then detaching yourself from the outcome. That's kind of my experience with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I would add to this, though, that you and Jim Carrey both did that everybody else is not hearing.
Yeah.
You didn't put it out of your mind traveling. You just didn't care about it or worry about it.
Right.
Right. You saw yourself traveling. See, that's what Jim Carrey did, is he would go to the neighborhood where the people were wealthy, and he put it out there, a date and everything, but he didn't fret about the date. But he still in his mind pictured a lifestyle and lived that lifestyle in his imagination. And ultimately he met the date. I don't know if he was early or right on time or just after, I forget, but I know what you're talking about. It was at this point, it was for Dumb and Dumber. Okay. It was like $10 million for acting services rendered is what it was. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. So I'm just sharing this with people because you're like, I wrote something down and I never thought of it again. That works kind of too with the 300 list that Steve Harvey talks about. But again, when Jim Carrey set the goal, he still imagined himself in the life of somebody who earned that kind of money. That was really the key to attracting the money. It wasn't the written down words, because the word means nothing to us. We think in pictures. We think in images. If I tell everybody right here, right now, do not think of a purple elephant. I don't want anybody here to think of a purple elephant. So nobody here is allowed to think of a purple elephant. Don't think of a purple elephant. Every one of you, in your own way, shape, or form, saw a purple elephant. Okay. So you also don't want to say what you don't want. Okay. So we think in pictures. So it's the picture that creates the thought creates the picture creates the emotion, because the picture is the story we're telling ourselves. And if we're telling ourselves a story that isn't what we truly want, it's not in alignment with who we are, we feel bad. Then that's how we know through our feelings that we're in a bad vibration, attracting what we don't want because of how it feels. However, if we picture what it is that we want and it feels good, we know that we're attracting good. We're attracting that thing, but we're also attracting good in general. So the best way to know if we are attracting things that are going to make us happy in our life, or we're attracting the opposite, how do you feel? How are you feeling when you give out a particular thought? And that particular thought is going to create that vibration. But all it is, the thought is just a story that we're telling ourselves. Nothing is either good or bad till we give it meaning. So if we can choose to tell ourselves a good story or a bad story, why don't we tell ourselves a story that puts a smile on our face? Because that naturally attracts to us what we want, versus telling us a story that scares the crap out of us, which means we're going to get what we don't want. So yes, you're writing down what you did and letting it go. That is absolutely the detachment side of that. You didn't have negative emotion about it. You only had positive or neutral. So it was going to manifest, and it did. And which, by the way, for you guys who don't know Liz, you want to tell them you had a book you wrote. If you want to share that with me.
Yeah, sure. So I came back from that experience. I ended up traveling about 18 months nonstop. And I basically worked my way around the world, attracting jobs that gave me the lifestyle to be able to do that. So I worked on private yachts in Monaco and the French Riviera, and came back and ended up writing just kind of a everything that I learned of how to do that. So it's called Bare Naked Nomad, and it's on Amazon. And I'm actually in the process of doing a updated edition because I published it about 4 years ago. So that'll kind of have an additional spin on it with COVID and how things have kind of changed over this past year or so. So
Awesome.
yeah.
What is the name again? Sorry, I couldn't hear.
So think of Bare Naked Ladies, the band, but instead of ladies, it's Nomad.
Gotcha.
All right. Anybody
Thanks
else?
for that, by the way, Kevin.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anybody else here have anything they would like to share? Any questions they'd like to ask?
I
Hi,
think
Kevin.
Liz,
Okay, we'll let Carl go first and then whoever afterwards. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Kevin. I guess a question I would have, because I'm also familiar with the Jim Carrey story, and when I heard that, I did the same. I wrote a check to myself,
Mhm.
and I put it in my wallet, and I just left it there while I carried on.
Uh-huh.
And like I envisioned the lifestyle I wanted to live, surround myself with the imagery of what I wanted to do, and yeah, I never got anywhere close to it. So I guess there was some disconnect for me, having studied law of attraction for some time, law of vibration. I actually have the book, the one you just read. The name is escaping me right now. The Science of Getting Rich.
Science of
And
Language. Cool.
yeah, I actually have it in PDF form and in physical book form.
Uh-huh.
And so I guess for me, it's like there's been a disconnect that, for as much as I've been trying to do the work, hasn't really, gone the way I've intended it.
Right. Okay. So here's your disconnect. I'm about 99% sure. Okay.
Hmm?
You have a subconscious program currently that is running that is in opposition to what you want. So what you're trying to do, which is fine, you're trying to obey the laws because you've been learning about them, but you haven't reprogrammed your subconscious yet. Now you're well, I wrote the thing on the, no, I get that. But there's a reprogramming process. Did you, and most people stop way too short of it, have you meditated and visualized on that? And maybe it's the way you're going about it, but like, did you do it every day religiously for 9 months, morning for 10, 15 minutes when you first get out of bed, and the night for 10 to 15 minutes every single day in the nighttime before you go to sleep? Did you put yourself in a state of imagination where you lived there completely 100% if it was real for a truly extended period of time? Or did you kind of come in and out of it?
In that structure, as you described it, no, I have not done it. Have I pondered on it
Sure.
every day? Yes, but in that structure that you just gave right now, no, I've never heard of that style. But
yeah. So what you have to do is you have to ignore your five senses and live in your imagination. But your five senses just reinforce what's going on around you. I promise you that the attention you paid to your five senses have reinforced your old subconscious programming in opposition to that. So what Jim Carrey did differently than you did, okay,
Mhm.
is again, he pulled up, one of the things that's really tough when you hear all these different interviews, right, is it's a certain amount of time they're being interviewed and they're on the spot and they tell their story and then it's done, right? And you catch some really good stuff, but you miss things. So sometimes you got to hear the same person interviewed 20 different times by 20 different people to get the full picture of what really happened. So we only get these little nuggets. Even in the movie The Secret, it's kind of like that. In the
Right.
movie The Secret, and by the way, anybody that has to go in a couple of minutes, we go 45, 50 minutes or so each day. I'm going to stick around just a little bit longer. You guys, though, don't feel like I'm holding you hostage and you can't leave if you have to. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer, though, because I want to help Carl here. And then some of you might have some additional questions or whatnot as a result. So I'm just letting you know that I'm not holding anybody hostage. It's not going to be rude if you leave. Okay. And that, we went through the material, we've answered some questions, you shared some comments, but also understand that there's going to be a recording available in 24 to 48 hours in the Facebook group. So you can go towards the end of that and get caught up on whatever you missed. Okay. Just wanted to say that for anybody that's like, oh my gosh, you said this thing's 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and it's an hour and 10 minutes now. Liar. I'm not a liar. Sometimes I make the choice based on the conversation and my schedule to go a little bit longer to help people out. Okay. So getting back to Jim Carrey, I'm going to tell a little different story that anybody who's read the book The Secret or watched, particularly if you watched the movie The Secret, there's this gentleman by the name of Jack Canfield on there. He's the guy who wrote with his partner, Mark Victor Hansen, a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. Okay. Jack Canfield, when he talked about manifesting, he didn't make a lot of money either originally. Came across the coach and a mentor. Mentor asked what he wanted. And he talks about taking a check, or excuse me, a dollar bill or a check. It was a dollar bill. And he wrote it into $100,000 bill because he'd never made $100,000 before. And he stuck that up on the ceiling. So I don't know how many people across the world have stuck $100,000 bill out of their $1 bill. It doesn't matter which one it's made out of. He just drew a comma and zeros and stuck it up on his ceiling. And so they're like, okay, I did that. I didn't get $100,000. Well, you didn't pay attention to some of the additional things he said about that. That was only a reminder. It was a reminder that first thing in the morning, he would visualize $100,000 lifestyle. And then right before he fell asleep at night, it was a reminder that he again visualized. And it's more than visualize. It needs to be real. It needs to be in the now, not in the future. It's not a movie that you're watching as if you're at a movie, watching a movie. It's a movie you're participating in, okay, when you're doing that. So you are actually seeing, you're using your senses in your imagination if you're in the middle of doing whatever it is you're doing. But that was what he did. And then he said, hey, nothing happened really for about 30 days. No ideas, nothing, right? But he did it every single day religiously. And then an idea came. And then he said the idea was, hey, I have a particular book. It wasn't Chicken Soup for the Soul. And, if enough people knew about this book, if it's sold, I get a quarter profit a piece. I'll end up with 100. So if I can sell 400,000, it's not like he had any clue how to sell 400,000 books. Okay. He'd never done anything like that before. He never even sold thousands of books or anything. That's not the way it was. But then that was just a thought that came to him. So now he was aware of what's going on around him. Then he went and gave a speech at a particular college. Or no, before that, he went to a grocery store somewhere shopping. That when he's in the checkout line, he sees a copy of the National Enquirer. And then he's like, hey, if my book was in the National Enquirer, definitely 400,000 people would buy it. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was his thought process. Then he goes off. I think he calls a place called Hunter College or something. And he's giving a speech. And afterwards, a lady comes up to him and says, I really liked what you talked about. I'd love the opportunity to interview you. And Jack Canfield's like, hey, that sounds terrific. That's great. By the way, who do you write for? She goes, well, I'm a freelancer, but I sell most of my work to the National Enquirer. So that's a part of the secret thing. That's why he goes, no, 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 no. And he didn't make $100,000. It was like 96,000, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but were we upset? No, we were excited, him and his wife. Well, the other thing, so you hear that story, but you don't hear the additional things that were going on that made it happen. That little bill on top of the ceiling didn't even remind him. What he ended up doing, and again, it wasn't because he stuck this up there, it was only his reminder to himself. He had made, I don't know how he made it, but he made a 2-foot by 3-foot $100,000 bill and stuck it on his ceiling. That way he couldn't ignore it and forget about it, because what happened is when he stuck the regular bill on the ceiling, he was forgetting to do his visualization meditation every time he got into bed or left bed.
Mhm.
So it was the living, but what brought it to him was not the bill that he wrote down. It wasn't words he wrote down. What it was him going into his mind and living $100,000 lifestyle and making that real for him with not only the decision, but he made 100% decision that he was going to have that happen. And he had 100% intention for that to be reality. So over time, he did reprogram his subconscious to accept that is who he was. He was no longer a person that made less than $100,000. And the one thing that none of us can do is we can never out manifest our self-image. So whatever that image is for us, that comes out in our results, but we will never out manifest it until at a subconscious level, we believe that we can have a certain lifestyle or do certain things or own certain things. Your subconscious mind will always get in the way and make sure that it doesn't happen, even if you're taking actions that people are trying to tell you. If you do this, you follow this system, you'll be a great real estate investor. You follow this system, you'll become the best, day trader in stocks. If you follow, no, it won't, because if your subconscious mind is in opposition because your self-image is not that, it's not going to help you. It's going to sabotage you. But when your self-image matches what it is that you want, and you get your subconscious mind to accept that as what's normal for you, then your subconscious will actually move heaven and earth to work with God and the universe and help make sure it happens for you.
I noticed that because I do morning affirmations, and I noticed when I first started, I always had this voice in my head saying, no, this is fake, blah, 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 blah. And as I kept progressing every day doing that mantra, it went from being loud to quieter to the point where it was no longer there. And then I remember starting to like, you're asking for too little money. You need to up the amount.
Yeah. And what I would say, Carl, is I think you've been asking for money. What you need to do is the mind doesn't really understand money very well. Because the way we've been programmed by society, first of all. Also, right. If you've not been around, like you're getting to know it, right? Because you're attracting. But for instance, if you are trying to get to $1 million, but nobody other than, celebrities on the internet, whatever, if none of your family or friends or people you interact with has ever made that $1 million a year, then you're trying to do it. It's not very real for you to say, I want $1 million. But what you can do more easily in your imagination is picture what $1 million can buy you and use that $1 million, because you don't need $1 million until you have something that you want to pay for that's going to cost $1 million.
That I have in spades.
What's that?
I said that I have in spades.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I've always had the most success, and everybody that has been a personal coaching client of mine has had the most success when we didn't focus on a dollar figure. We decided on a lifestyle first, and then God and the universe started providing the things that would help them live that lifestyle. So for instance, I said it very briefly at the very beginning. I don't know if you were on, but for me, when I got that training and the reprogramming, I was making $5,000 to $6,000 a month, and I was working 50, 60 hours. Then what happened is I went down to only working 15 to 20 hours, but I've had months as big as $88,000. Okay.
Yeah.
but I didn't set a goal for the money. I put out there for a lifestyle, and it just so happened that to live the life I wanted to live, if I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, I couldn't have lived that. Also, I needed a certain amount of money, but I didn't need $88,000 every month, different months, different amounts. But when I average it averaged out to 50,000 over an 8-month period. So essentially my income multiplied by 8.5 to 10 times in the amount of time I worked dropped by 2/3. But that wasn't because I said, I want to multiply my income by 10 times and I want to drop my work hours by 2/3. It's here's the life I'm imagining. This is what I'm creating. And then God in the universe said, okay, this is what it's going to take to give Kevin that. And that's what I received.
And I totally understand. Yeah, money is I guess you could say I like building,
Yeah,
and that's what really
it's a
gets.
tool. It's a means of exchange.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. We have a lot of emotion attached around it, but if we take that emotion away and it just is what it is, it's not a good or bad.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool.
And that for me, I look at like, what do I want to build? And that's why I look at money's like, okay, how many nails do I need to build what I want?
The way you build it first, see, here's what you're doing wrong. The way you build it first is you build the blueprint. You don't need nails and hammers or anything until you got a blueprint of a house or a
Right.
building. But most people go after trying to find the tools, and God in the universe said, give me the blueprint. Share with me the blueprint. Let me help provide everything else. And the tools and things that you need to receive it will come to you at the right times when you're in the right vibration with us, because we can give you inspiration, revelation, intuition to take the proper actions to receive what it is you asked for. So, and if you go back to previous chapters, Wallace is talking about that. Maybe not the exact way I just said it, but yeah.
Okay. I can see how that would make sense. It's like first blueprint, and once you have the blueprint, then you could like itemize out.
You're not even going to, because guess what? You don't know. Let God in the universe actually provide the materials to build your house. You think you're going to make it out of, I'm just making this up, a 2x4, but maybe they're like, no, we know that a 2x6 is better for this. You're
Right.
wanting to make it out of whatever, and God in the universe are going, hey, we got a better way to deliver it to you, and it will stand more strongly and be more beautiful than what you even pictured if you will let us build the freaking house for you. We're asking you to be the architect that creates the blueprint. And yes, you're going to come by and do stuff, but what you're not going to do is stand behind the guy putting up the drywall and tell him how to do his job. That's kind of what we're trying to do to God in the universe, though, a lot.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl. Great question.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Somebody did. They maybe had to disappear because of time or something. But somebody was trying to talk about the same time Carl came on.
Could I ask a question, Kevin? My name is Susan.
Yeah, sure, Susan. Yeah.
I'm just curious of what you just said in regards to the blueprint. My latest desire is trying to manifest a mastermind group.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, we're so isolated that it's feeling a little frustrating of the how-to.
Okay.
Are you saying to release the how-to and just continue to see a group that will come together with me?
Okay. Well, I need some more detail. One, have you started a group, or you want to start?
I would love to start a group. I have a great business idea in an industry I know nothing about. So I would like to develop an app or an add-on to existing, what have you. So the IT world, not my world, but this kind of came as an inspiration. So I feel I have to roll with it.
Okay.
And in order to roll with it, obviously I need a mastermind group who has the know-how in the variety of areas that I do not. I'm a master marketer and seller. That I can do.
Okay.
But the IT part is like, huh? So again, we're isolated. How
Oh,
do I
well, you
see
and I,
myself
first of all, how are you and I talking to each other right now?
by great divine intervention?
Okay, yes, probably, right?
Obviously,
But
you
let's
know,
talk, right? We're on a Zoom call, right?
yeah,
How did you find out about this Zoom meeting?
because I'm big into Meetup,
Uh-huh,
and I'm big on Facebook.
uh-huh.
So
You found it on
I,
Meetup.
yes,
What
so
is
I
Meetup?
put in it's a networking
It's a place
system.
to create, if somebody has an interest and wants to become an organizer, they can put it out there that that's what this is about, and other people that have an interest can find out about it, because Meetup will promote it a little bit. They don't promote heavily. They promote mostly for the first week or two, and then they're kind of done with their promotion of it. They'll say, hey, everybody who has an interest in this, there's a new group starting, and here it is. So maybe you found it early a few weeks ago, or maybe you found it the other day. But if you wanted to create a mastermind around something, you certainly absolutely could do it. And Meetup is very inexpensive. They actually allow you, you pay 24 bucks a month. You actually get, they don't tell you, funny enough, but they give you 3 groups that you're allowed to start. So you can start 1 or you can start 3, it doesn't matter. But because most of what you talked about, you want to create an app, chances are you don't need to meet with somebody physically in your city to make that happen. There's, heck, there's probably somebody on this Zoom meeting right now that either can make one or works with people that can, or has a relative or friend or colleagues that can. So you, there, mastermind or none, you could choose to start one. The other thing that you can do very easily is go into meetup groups that are mastermind already around the technology and app creation and internet marketing or whatever you're wanting to use this thing for. And they're out there. But as far as what you want, you were led to do this because you want a particular outcome, not because you want an app. So what is the outcome that you actually want, Susan?
You know, the outcome is to create an app that's going to help people. And I think it's in conjunction with the state that we're in right now.
Okay.
So I feel like I
And what does
am
it do? What does it do for them? What is the solution that you're providing for people?
well, that would be sharing the app information. And I think that's what has me a little, not a little, it has me paranoid reading the Think and Grow Rich in regards to assembling a mastermind of people you trust and know and connect with. So it's been hard for me to do that with strangers because obviously I don't want to give my idea away.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I feel like it's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
So,
And I just,
but again, what is the, you say you want an app, you don't want an app. For instance, if I want to hang a picture in my house, right? I don't want a hammer. I don't want a drill. What I want is a hole to put the nail in to hang the picture. However, the drill or the hammer are just a tool to create that hole so I can hang my picture. So the app, you don't want just apps. I mean, that you want an outcome. So I'm not asking you anything that I'm proprietary as much as who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to serve? And in what way would you serve them? And then the app may be absolutely the way to get it done, but I'm doing that because I'm trying to help you understand what to focus on. You're focused on the wrong thing. That's why you're stuck.
I see. The app would assist people in getting further ahead in what they're trying to do. So there's a missing link with what people have been doing. So it's building a better mousetrap.
Okay.
Whether it already exists or not, I have no idea, but that hasn't stopped me from continuing to develop the idea in my mind. But it would be helpful to anyone and everyone who uses it corresponds via email.
Okay.
I know that sounds so broad.
No, well, it's helping a little bit. But now, are you wanting to create this because you want to save the world? Or are you hoping it to be financially lucrative? Again, what is what's your desired outcome? Because again, you don't want an app, you want a result.
Yeah, for twofold. So I feel like this would revolutionize how things have been done. And in the process, my end game would absolutely be selling this to one of the giants, because my desire is not to step in full time to the IT arena.
Okay, fine. So ultimately, what is the life that you would end up being able to live if this outcome happened? What you've now sold this app or a company that owns the app or whatever to one of the giants, and you've been paid whatever you've been paid. Again, though, what does the money that you're receiving actually mean to you, and what is the life that you're living, and how real is that to you right now? Because when that part of it gets to be very real, then God in the universe can direct you more easily towards getting it done. But right now you're focused on, okay, I got an idea that I should do an app for this purpose.
I see the financial rewards, the outcome, the end game, absolutely allowing me to go to the next level in my life with what I would like, which is enhancing in every which way but loose. So that freedom, that financial freedom, and of course I am 1,000% about family. So just
awesome.
elevating my family's existence as well.
Yeah, that's why I only work 15 to 20 hours a week. It's because that's what I spend a lot of my time, is not just me roaming around, and I spend a lot of time with family. So I get that. So what I would do to create more clarity and get unstuck for the moment, for the short-term time being, kind of like Jack Canfield, is because you haven't really, you've got this idea, but you haven't like taken a step to make it physical yet, correct?
Correct. I spoke to someone at IBM who sort of was a cheerleader.
All right. But in other words, you're not in the process, it's not being built at the moment. So,
Correct.
and right now, I'm just going to imagine, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm just going to imagine that financially you can pay your bills.
Yes.
Okay. So you're not in dire straits at the moment. You want something better. Got it. So spend your time for now living the lifestyle that you want in your imagination, not just like a little kid, but very much like a kid, but with the decision that that is the life you're going to live no matter what, and the intention to make it very real for you. And do it in having fun, have a good time with it, and play with it, and think about it as if it's already happened and it is currently the life you live. It's not anywhere in the future. This is how you live on a day-to-day basis. This is where you vacation. This is where you live. These are the cars you drive. These are the people you serve. These are the charities. Just all the stuff that you would intend to do with that money if you had it. And play with the lifestyle for now, and just enjoy that every day. Do it at least 5 to 10 minutes when you first get up before you pop out of bed, and then do it 5 or 10 minutes. You can do it longer, but do it at least that right before you go to sleep. And just do that for the next 30 days with nothing, no intention of it other than to enjoy it and live it in your heart and in your mind. And you will end up connecting more powerfully with God in the universe, and you will be able to be more in tune or in vibration. And the steps that you need to take, if it's to build this app and create it, you will be given a lot more direction on how to get it done.
Great, thank you. And may I just ask a follow-up question?
You may.
You've heard people who say that they've been led to do things or go into areas that they never had an interest in. How do you counteract against one, procrastination, because you feel like, this is not really something I want to do. Why is this in my consciousness to do it? And two, is that a sign of me fighting against what I'm supposed to be doing?
Okay. So first of all, If you mean you don't want to do it because it's something you've never done before and you're afraid, you're fighting. If you just don't have a desire to do it whatsoever, you wouldn't be even guided to do it.
Okay. And it's not a fear. It's just like, oh my goodness, this is going to be work. So I'm a little spoiled.
It absolutely could be work. Or again, God in the universe can do anything they're going to see the easiest path for you when you get into the right vibration and you stay there and you know what you want your life to be like. And then it sounds difficult, but for the right person, it's a piece of cake. There are people out there that can produce apps just bam, bam, bam. So just because you maybe, or I maybe am not that person, and we feel like if I were to go through the learning curve to become that person, it would take so much time, energy, and work. Well, that doesn't mean that God couldn't instantly provide the person, right? Let's say that you live in and I don't know your height, Susan, so I'm just making this up, right? Let's say you're in your house and you're all by yourself, so no families around or whatever. And I don't know why, but for some reason you have no ladder in the house, but you got something you want and it's sitting up on a shelf that's approximately 9 feet high, and your arms stretch and everything. If you jump, you can't get to 9 feet. Okay. So now you're kind of stuck. And you're like, but I really need that thing, So what you're trying to do is, well, you're trying to stack books, right? Because you don't have chairs for it. And that's wobbly. So I don't want to do that. I'll kill myself. You're trying to figure this out, but that's not what you do. But then here's what happens. You get a knock at the door. And it happens, you ordered something maybe on Amazon, and it's not COVID, so they're not all afraid or whatever. And they're helping you bring it into the house. And the guy or gal that's helping you bring this thing into the house actually happens to be 6'7".
I get it.
Okay.
And it's funny because it's a little scary. You just described a scenario that happened. After 15 plus years, a light in my kitchen went out, which is not reachable. And I just didn't have any way of changing the main light in the kitchen. And I live alone. So I just said, oh my gosh, what's going on? So it wasn't the Amazon people, but somebody did come by, and it was like the light bulb went off, like, whoa, wait a minute. This is great timing. So I get it. I totally get it.
There you go. God's got your back when you let him, or however you believe in God. Okay. God and the universe have your back, but we're so used to trying to do stuff on our own that we don't get their help as much as we could if we stay in alignment and in vibration, so that we receive the help when it comes. Because the other person, what the person could have done that was trying to get that is go, oh, I live alone, somebody's knocking at my door, totally forget that they ordered something on Amazon. And they would still be stuck. Not only would the package be sitting outside their door instead of in their house because they wouldn't answer the door because they were afraid, but they also wouldn't have the thing at the top of the shelf off the shelf. Same scenario, same person comes to the door, but the person comes and goes because of your action, Susan, not because of their action.
Very well said. Thank you. It all makes sense.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Well, we have definitely gone over today. Is there any last question that anybody feels like, hey, if I don't ask Kevin this question right now, I'm just not going to sleep very well tonight? If you have that type of question, go ahead and ask it. And if I can answer it pretty quickly, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody.
As always, have a good one. Thank you, Kevin.
You're all very, very, very welcome. And look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Everybody have an awesome day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.